All right. Before I open it up for questions, I think it's probably important we clarify a couple of things. Firstly, in relation to Daniel, the situation as it's evolved and as has been talked about in the Age today is as a direct result of discussions Daniel had with our club doctor, Dr. Andrew Daff, after the time he was delisted, and as part of an exit interview process, of which it became obvious that that he had some concerns in regard to how he was thinking and how he was feeling, and it was important that there was that was followed up, which has now happened, and hence he's gone through a series of processes which have been well articulated in this morning's Age. The second thing is, I think as an industry, it's very important that we don't judge concussions from the grandstand. We assess and we see things happen on a football field, which often are disturbing. It is a physical game, but it is also important to recognise that the people who are best positioned in regard to that are in fact the medical officers who have all the information available to them, have all obviously the appropriate qualifications and the experience to deal with the issue as they need to deal with it. And it's important that their judgment and their assessment is given preeminence in any of this consideration. And therefore, as part of all of this and the ongoing debate as to whether the current rules in relation to concussion are in fact appropriate, that they've taken into account the most recent information, knowledge, as any group of people should, with their professional background, to put in place a series of rules or adjustments to those rules, which are always, and as the game has always strived to do, acted in the best interest of the players concerned. And I know there's going to be a lot of concern and conjecture in and around this. I feel very comfortable with the fact that both Daniel, the club and the industry is acting and continues to act really responsibly in regard to it all. The current collective bargaining agreement with players is put in place and is structured as such that it allows players to consider options in regard to a form of compensation if it's shown that the injuries they suffered during their career stop them from playing any form of football beyond their AFL career. And Daniel's well, within his rights, and he should assess, those options, and the club is in fact helping him to get the type of assessment that he needs to in fact make that decision. At this stage, no claim has been lodged with us or the AFLPA. We continue to work really closely with Daniel. We're meeting with him. Our doctors are the people who continue to oversee his medical situation, and from that perspective, we're very comfortable with where it sits. He's a terrific young guy, really admired person, who during his footy career seriously did put his head over the footy, and played the game with great courage. His career concluded in the way, unfortunately, that a lot of players in this game careers do conclude, just simply because in the judgment of our coaches and our people who are the experts in this area, it felt that there are other players who are ahead of him in terms of building our future at the club, and he was delisted accordingly. It is something we'll continue to work with him. As I said, terrific young guy who's receiving great medical attention as it sits now, and we're confident that the system and the rules as they apply will continue to serve him well. As I said, it wasn't. The issue in regard to the fact, we were obviously aware that he'd had multiple concussions. Each of those concussions were dealt with and managed on their merits by the people and who are best served to do that, who are the doctors involved in the particular incident. No, they didn't, no. And I think he said that himself today, that basically he's saying that, and one thing we have to ensure as an industry, that we don't encourage a behaviour where players either hide injuries or in fact, have the situation where they create injuries. We've got to have our systems and our structures are such that they allow for an openness and an honesty when it comes to player injuries. Quite clearly, it's places on AFL lists are hard to get, and players often will do what they need to do to protect their position. But if that comes to actually hiding an injury, well, that's something we obviously have to be concerned about. I think you've got to think of the timing which is involved in all of this. His diagnosis or the discussion he has with our doctor happens at the end of his career at the club, so that's in around that September-October period. You only get a short period of time whereby you are required to nominate again. I think his analysis of what his actual situation was an ongoing one, and it was probably only now that he fully understands the ramifications of what the position was.
How closely is the club working with him in terms of welfare and those kind of things?
Our doctor's overseeing his whole treatment, from this point onwards, and they're the people who are best positioned. Our welfare people also talk to him on a personal basis about how he's going about rebuilding a career post-football as part of what we actually do. It's something which the club is trying to set some very high standards in regard to that, but at the same time recognise that he's got to deal with what he has to deal with from his own perspective and make whatever decisions he needs to make in his own best interests. No, I don't think so. No, at this stage, no claim's been lodged. So it's important to recognise that it's his right within his contract and the collective bargaining agreement, of which we're a part of, to actually do that. But from that perspective, we'll just deal with it as it occurs. But in the meantime, we're helping a terrific young guy get on with the rest of his life.